Researchers at Glasgow Caledonian University are developing new methods to tackle heat loss and carbon emissions from Category A and B listed buildings. They have been commissioned by Historic Scotland and worked in collaboration with Edinburgh City Council and the Edinburgh World Heritage Trust to study the Canongate Housing complex, an example of post-war listed buildings with historic value, to look at a range of potential interventions to improve its energy performance.
The vast majority of houses or dwellings and flats that we have in Scotland already exist, and the rate of renewal of existing housing stock is very, very slow. Even compared to new build, the demolition rate is very small. So it would be, from an environmental point of view and a social and financial point of view, it would be entirely wrong to demolish vast swathes of housing and replace them with brand new stuff. Economically, you just couldn't do it. So the majority of our energy consumption in dwellings is locked into the existing housing stock, basically. So if we are to meet the government targets for 42% CO2 reductions by 2020 or 80% by 2050, it's these sort of buildings that we've really got to look at and improve.
There is a fuel poverty angle on this, and then the amount of heat that is being wasted at a time like this when the cost of fuel is very high. So there is a social benefit in terms of fuel poverty reduction. Fuel poverty in this country is constantly going up after having come down for some years, so that is a social good. If I talked about this particular study, which is probably relevant to all of the stock itself, it is using a standard assessment procedure called SEP 2009. Even though it has problems, that is the sort of established procedure. It would also involve some modeling and actually talking to the residents and doing a survey of their comfort and energy use conditions. So that would be a standard methodology for all of the housing stock. So it will involve studying the drawings, looking at the conservation statement if it is a listed building, and to determine what are the possibilities. But more importantly, I think to do an assessment to see where they are currently and what could be done to improve their energy performance.
Thermal imaging is a great technique because it can give you both an overall feeling for the performance of the building, and it will highlight specific elements of construction that are poorly insulated, or indeed in new buildings where insulation has been missed. And it's something that Glasgow Caledonian do an awful lot of thermal imaging. It's a fantastic diagnostic technique.
The reason for doing the report is to showcase what options are available and how building conservation sometimes limits, but also can give alternatives to what you can do. We are not going to implement things as such because it's a private building and privately owned building, so it's up to the residents, but the report can inform them what is optional, what is possible, and it's also an option to show others how they can assess a building like this.
I think the most important aspect of this project is that we had a very strong technical cooperation, not just with the GCU, which was tremendous, but also with the conservation architects, and the marriage between the energy efficiency assessment and the conservation of heritage. The marriage between the two really made this project really special, and that's what we intend as best practice, to try and balance these two things, these two aspects of work, so that we can still keep heritage untouched and authentic, but also to try to give a new lease of life for these buildings and really improve the energy efficiency.
I think if we can raise the awareness and show how much heat is being wasted and the variation in heat usage and the poverty that is associated with it, the fuel poverty. The lack of awareness is, even though it seems a small problem, it is a big problem among users, and in a time of increasing energy cost, I think that would help. That would also help get consent in communal living settings, in flats and tenements and so forth. If we can achieve that and show the importance of existing stock, and B, the nature of the problem, the scale of the problem, I think that would be a fantastic achievement for us.